Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's just awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we are going to talk about the Handheld or the Gameboy Plus. This is a new addition to the X family. Because for the people who have no clue what is the X family, we're having a lot of different China handhelds called the X series, or we're having the X6, X9 and so many different versions. What they have in common that most of them are running on the same shitty software. But at the end, this is the brand new 2020 model and they are ripping off, of course, the Nintendo Switch like always, because that's the new thing that they're just doing. But there are some little concerning things, so let's talk about the specification first. The first thing I did notice, this thing comes with a 7-inch display. That's pretty cool, and we're going to take a close look at it later, what kind of display. But the resolution itself is really concerning. What you can see over here, it has an 800 by 400 but 30 FPS. So I'm hoping that there's a typo on the box, otherwise it would be a pretty damn shitty handheld already. Alright, so let's take a close look at the device itself. Of course, here we have the 7-inch handheld. 7 inches of fun. Alright, so in overall, let's say it's 7-inch version, but it looks very similar like the previous model. It was of course a little bit smaller. Here we have headphones, just the cheap headphones that mostly cost a couple of dollars. The shitty toilet paper hand manuals with not a lot of information, and here we have an old school, this is retro, USB for charging and data transfer, and we're having an AV out with very old school shitty signal. What I already mentioned is that this thing is just basically a beefcake version of the X7 that was exactly the same. There are some minor changes and that's what we're going to talk about. So let's do a little bit side by side with the Nintendo Switch for size comparison, and you can see that this X12 Plus, this thing is quite big compared with the Nintendo Switch. But first, let's remove the little plastics, because we are going to use, of course, the system. By the way, the first time that I've ever seen it before. So the weight's quite heavy, to be honest, and not that heavy like in PS Vita. It's huge, but for example, the shoulder buttons have a very horrible, cheap click to it. I really hate the analog sticks, I can already tell you that. Let's talk about the controls and what are we going to get, because they did some upgrades compared with different systems. And what do I mean with upgrades? So first of all, they're still using the 4 buttons like a D-pad. I don't understand why they keep doing this, I really hate it. The analog stick, I need to show you this. It's more like the PSP stick, a little bit bigger. You can plug it out very easily, so if you want a replacement, it's not very hard. But I don't like it in general. It feels quite cheap. And of course we're having the old school escape button, and that's what we're going to need if you want to go out of the game. So the same story applies to the A, B and X and Y. At the right side we're having analog stick and we're having select and start. At the top we're finding a headphone jack out. We're having on-off switch, CF input, the old school mini USB, volume control, and very strangely we're having another on-off switch. At the back this time we do have 2 speakers, so we're having finally stereo sound, and of course the shitty camera is back. And this is the 16GB version. When booting up, all my excitement for this new product was vanished away simply in one KO. Just like King doing with the guy over there. And the reason why is because they are using the same shitty software like the freaking previous model. Alright, let's take a close look. Maybe they changed something. So the first thing I did notice that, like with the X16 and other devices, the 7-inch display is just an old school, very horrible display with a poor view angle. And was already set up to the maximum brightness to make it even more worse. These things go around $50. And again, I think we can't complain for the money. But if you're looking at similar devices with an IPS 7-inch display, for example with the X2, this thing goes for twice the price. To begin with, this thing is not a touchscreen. So at the right top we're finding the battery life, and you can see they ripped off the PS Vita. Yep, they have a similar menu. There are quite different menus out there, but this is one of the latest versions. As you can see, we have these quick buttons. By the way, I really hate them because you can change them out, and if let's say the file behind it goes, let's say if the file behind it doesn't work, you're just having a dead shortcut. But alright, here you can see we're having videos, music, pictures, browse function, browse by the nothing to do with the internet, calculator, and let's go to the settings. Here you can change some things out. If you want to use the TV out, for example, you can just turn it on and off and choose your region. There is nothing you can do about the emulators or other settings, you're just stuck with this basic menu. Keep in mind, don't format internal memory because you will wipe everything. Yes, don't do it. I do like to mention that this device has the quick load, quick save option with every single emulator / game you're using, so that's pretty cool and it works very well. Alright, so the first one, let's try a little bit of Gameboy Advance, and I must say, in my opinion, I think it doesn't run that bad. I have seen some shitty emulation, but this is not really bad. I really love to hear your opinion about this. Bit is just okay, and I did notice that the sound effects are not like the original, but it's playable. For arcade, it's a mixed bag, simply because it is not perfect emulation in many ways. Did notice a lot of slowdowns, hiccups, and some games are basically unplayable. For example, Crossword is a very nice example that some of the arcade games will run just fine, or the best you can get on a cheap handheld like this. With Mega Drive they did manage to improve some minor things. The emulation itself is slightly better, and I did notice that we finally have a jump button. And the reason I'm saying jump button, as you can see, I can finally jump with the character, and with the previous X series handhelds I had a lot of issues with it because I couldn't even map the freaking button. When you're going fast with Sonic, you can see the emulation is improved in, let's say, some ways. It's not perfect, or better said, spot on like the original Mega Drive, but it's getting really close. Sonic 3 is pretty unplayable on most of these cheap China handhelds, but it runs pretty decent, but far from perfect. Sadly, with Super Famicom we don't have big improvements over here, and you can see it runs still very choppy. The turbo mode and speed downs, what I like to call them in the previous videos, is not that bad anymore, but still it's not running on the correct speed. And you can see it's running pretty choppy. But I did notice with these X series, they don't advertise with PlayStation 1, and the reason is just simple, because it doesn't run perfect at all, and this is the best you're going to get with two-dimensional games. And this happens when you're trying to boot up a three-dimensional game. Here, look at this, it's bugging out big time. I just selected every single character. So to begin with, the reason why I don't cover things like video games, music or the TV out is very simple, because it's not even worth mentioning. The TV out function is pretty damn choppy, and on a modern LCD you don't want to get there. But at the end, I'm very disappointed, to be honest. I was hoping with the X12 Plus edition in 2020 we're going to get finally new results, better emulation. I did notice that there is a slightly little minor improvement with emulation, but at the end you're going to get just a basic, would not even say PlayStation Vita or Switch knockoff, because it is nothing like this. At the end, it's just another X series handheld that have the same big issues like the previous models. So again, a new handheld, no improvements. And yeah, if you want to pick it up for yourself, it's all up to you, but this is what you're going to get, and it will not get any better, and there is no other software that you can download and upgrade. If you have any questions, you can always leave it in the comments, and I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell. It would be great to have you in a Wicked family, and I will see you in the next video.